We're here for Civil Discourse Now, segment 4. We're talking about the book Crime Pays, authored by Mark Swall, who's sitting to my left. And you were completing a thought talking about
telling the story.
Dealey Posse. Tell the story.
So we sat through these meetings all day, and like at one point, and they're talking about how these guys had come in on the casino and offered to run it and everything, and got schnookered on that. Talking about what they've been finding out in terms of the natural gas, and we went out to the well sites the next day, and like at one point, a guy from the Texas Railroad Commission, I believe it is, who is also a deputy attorney general, came in. That was when I was asked to leave the room. Now I won't speculate on why it is that I would be asked to leave the room. Now if I'd been 17 or 18, I probably would have sat out and with Marilyn all day, because as I recall, Marilyn was a very attractive secretary. Yeah. But anyways, so we get done, and our host said, "The night's ours." So we go to his house, and he's like next door neighbor to one of the Bunker Hunts. I mean, he's living in University Park, and my old man and I get into the room, close the door. My old man pulls out, he always called it his arch board. I don't know why, but it's a legal pad. And he said, okay, I just want to get this straight. Now, when so-and-so said this, and I said, "No, Daddy, what he said was," and I'm telling my old man, because I could remember, he didn't have a tape recorder, he had me. So we went to a bar. My old man would only have one drink in a business setting, because people don't trust you if you don't drink. So he'd nurse at Tom Collins. Our host bought me I didn't know what a kitty cocktail was, ordered me a Texas Ranger. I thought it was really hot stuff. So we'd go out to the car, and he goes, "Okay, well, we're going to go to the shooting gallery now." And I thought that they were going to go someplace and shoot guns. My father shot guns. I'm from a farming community. Well, no. It was November, and it was very warm. That's Texas. And we were in a Mustang, and our host popped the top down. I'm sitting in the back right seat of this car. All of a sudden, I realized we're slowing down, and I recognize these streets. And I could tell you the names. At the time that I was writing the book, I had them down. But like, we're coming right by the Texas Book Depository. And he's got the speedometer down to we're only doing a little over 15 miles an hour, just like the motorcade. Then he turns right, and we're going under the tree that's right in front of the Texas Book Depository. We're past the tree, and then he went on the dashboard and floored the car. We are flying to Parkview or Parkland Hospital, pull up into the emergency lane, and he goes, "Son, how was that?" And I said, that was awesome. That was awesome. It was just like, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound macabre or something, but that was really awesome. And that happened. Then we went out to the Palo Pinto the next day, and I got to look through the microscope where they pointed out that the effervescence showing on these little pebbles that they pulled from core samples meant that there's natural gas there.
Wow, it's interesting. So you were pulled into all these meetings, or you actually voluntarily went at 12 years old?
Yeah.
And you were a human tape recorder, basically.
Not a human tape recorder. I have a very good memory, and so I was listening to all this stuff, and my old man couldn't take a recorder in there, but he could take me, and because that's if you're in Texas. Man's got to take his son in on business deals, I guess, because I'd be learning how to do this later or something. But
okay, let's talk about how I don't want to call it a scheme, but the plan fell apart. The trust fell apart, and people. In your book, you talk about I think she was a former receptionist or secretary who sent out postcards saying people.
Actually, the way the I understand it came apart was there was an investigation. They were asking questions as to the organization of the Cook Brothers Trust itself. Questions were asked about board meetings. There was a demand for minutes. Former Governor Matt Welsh was appointed at one point as a person to be a bankruptcy person or a trustee over the trusts, and they fell apart that way. And the way a Ponzi scheme falls apart is the money stops coming in. The money stopped coming in once people really started asking questions. Also, they were spending money like crazy.
The Cook brothers.
Yeah, Floyd Cook had a huge horse barn outside of Kokomo, and he had a bunch of thoroughbreds, and they were spending money on everything. It was just really kind of silly. So inevitably, it kind of came to a crash, especially since they had to sell the Aladdin Casino for such a huge loss.
How are the, and you may remember some growing up, how are the ordinary people of Kokomo, that area? Of course, in your book, you refer to it as Palmerston, right?
Yes.
Palmerston. How are they affected by this?
Some people lost all their life savings because they had put everything into the Cook Brothers Trust. Other people, I mean, there were 1,500 people, 1,500 investors who lost, from my recollection. A lot of people in Kokomo hadn't invested anything at all, so they weren't affected.
Did your father or invest anything?
No. He loaned them $40,000 at one point, and got that back, and 2 farms. I mean, he got back all the money that he had out there. He might have lost some, but some people lost their life savings, and a lot of the people in the community knew that this was a big story because it was in the papers, but they didn't. They were kind of oblivious.
Was you have in your book about the newspaper? There was actually a newspaper that kind of turned on. Actually didn't turned in favor of the trust later on.
Yes, but that's kind of fictionalized. It was a startup paper, and it went under. But that was the publisher did spend time in Terre Haute and wrote about it. But I think that was more because he disposed of equipment that the newspaper owned as he was going through a bankruptcy.
Okay, all right. One thing you mentioned in the book, which I thought was interesting, I guess it's an aspect of the law I didn't realize. If you're involved in a Ponzi scheme and you cash in before it crashes, you don't get away with that money necessarily.
No, you don't at all. In fact, this is the U.S. Supreme Court case on Ponzi, and it's Cunningham versus Brown, 265 U.S. page 1. It's from 1923. Cunningham, trustee of Ponzi, versus Brown, who's the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and others. No, if you make a profit on a Ponzi scheme, you're entitled to your investment, but you're not entitled to keep any profits. So anybody that does profit from a Ponzi scheme, once it comes to a close, if they made any money, they've got to give it back.
The main characters in the book, the Thompsons, what happened to them?
They died of old age.
I figured they died of old age. But did they leave the community? Did they go to Mexico?
No, they stayed in the community.
They were never convicted. Or
They're
convicted of the misdemeanor.
Yeah, that's it.
Correct. What about? So they had to pay a $10,000 fine in the real life. They had to pay a $10,000 fine.
Yes.
And none of that other money was ever refunded.
Best of my knowledge, no. My father recovered money from them in the course of mechanics liens and a couple of other lawsuits, but other than that, I'm not aware of whatever litigation they were in.
Okay. And they've all since passed away now?
Yes.
In real life. In your book, you talk about, and I wonder whether this is fictionalized, an airplane being blown up.
Oh, that's fictionalized.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, how many people were the main people in the trust? Was it just the Cook brothers and Bollinger?
Yeah, those were the main people. There was an individual who was our host in Dallas when we went down there. He committed suicide. That was the cause of death, but the coroner's reports said it was suicide from 2 gunshot wounds to the rear of his head.
Yeah, you don't normally commit suicide that way.
Only if you're very, very intent upon it.
Right. In the book, there's a character. Obviously, it's based on yourself.
Me?
Yes, I believe so. And you mention in the book early on that you met someone, another person of your age.
Oh, yeah.
Your child down in Texas, and ran into him later.
Well, and that's fictionalized. We went down there, and we go out to the gas well site, and the geologist was staying in a trailer there, and his son was there, and his son was my age. And it was just, and we had sat there talking. He played like trumpet or something, and I played drums in my grade school band.
So kind of nerdy.
Yeah. So I kind of took off from that in the book.
Okay. And you mentioned that you had an offer, or a couple, you applied to a few schools, and I noticed you decided to go to De Beers University.
Oh, yes, because
I thought that was a nice fictionalized name.
Well, yeah. It just
would be a good name for a college.
Actually, it's with diamonds, De Beers.
Ah, true. So, anyway, and how does your book wrap up?
It wraps up with, I don't want to give away that. That's
okay, well, don't give away anything.
Guys on a train. And actually, overall, the bad guys win. And there's one very, very...
Hence the name Crime Pays.
Yeah, and one of the major characters in there is the daughter of factories who goes herself to work in a factory, and she's like salutatorian of her high school, and she's told that she's gotten an opportunity to go to college, but her parents drum into her head that women only go to college either to be nurses or teachers, and she wants to do art. But instead she goes to work at the factory because that's more accepted. And then she ends up leaving the community and going to California. And that attitude towards women in education was very dominant in Kokomo when I was a kid. And so that was one of the characters that I portrayed. And also
was that a real character?
No, it was kind of an amalgamation of people there.
Interesting. Some of there were other. I remember there were other women in the book that were mentioned. She was one of them. What about the secretary? Was the secretary a receptionist?
That was just
totally fictional.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and then Sylvia was like the one hooker that was totally fictionalized, yeah. But that was just one of those things.
They had a prurient interest in
no, somewhat. And really, this goes back and forth from the book opens in Boston with an individual wanting to invest and get some money fast. And the things that I did to research Ponzi and the Ponzi schemes, that's all pretty accurate, even the address of the building. And then it goes back there, like, it goes from Boston for a short time, then it comes to Indiana, then Boston, then Indiana and Texas. Right. And that's kind of the format.
I kind of wonder, knowledge is out there, why do these Ponzi schemes still work today? And I don't mean work as in terms of people making money, but
because,
work to fool people.
Because they'll always look legit, and as W.C. Fields said, you can't cheat an honest man. And so people will sit there, and if they're told that it's guaranteed, and it's just such a big profit, and if this is something, if there's something wrong with it, why are they investing in it? And they're reputable people, and that's why it's always going to work.
Okay. Mark, thank you for being on the show today, Civil Discourse Now.
Thank you for being on here too.
And Crime Pays, a book you can buy at where?
Big Hat Books, 6510 Cornell Avenue. If not there, that'd be your first choice. Would be on Amazon.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. This is Civil Discourse Now.